Politicians involved in gun law protests say their sit-in is over, but that the fight will carry on. Members of the House of Representatives have been sitting on the chamber floor protesting at the lack of action on gun control measures. Well, broadcaster and radio host Stephen Crowder joins us via Skype now from Texas. Thanks very much indeed for joining us. The Speaker described it as a publicity stunt, but what publicity?
Well, it depends, I guess, on your perspective on the issue. For someone like me or someone who respects the Second Amendment or due process, it's silly. These are Democrat politicians pushing something that it requires an uninformed voting base to support the measures that they're putting forward. There were measures put forward by Republicans time and time again. They shoot them down. They don't want gun control. They simply want control.
However, clearly a lot of those politicians indicated that this was a reaction to what happened in Orlando and a number of other shootings in various public arenas. And clearly there is a growing debate within the United States about what can be done about gun control, particularly automatic weapons.
No, I hate to come on your show and correct you, but what you've just said is entirely false. And I'm not saying that you're deliberately saying something false, but you said automatic weapons. Respectfully, I don't think you know the difference between an automatic weapon or a semi-automatic weapon. Not a single automatic weapon was used in any of these mass shootings. Mass shootings are not on the rise. Gun crime is actually on the decrease. The weapons that were used were semi-automatic weapons, which includes any handgun sold really since the year, I don't know, 1950, except for double-action revolvers. And the legislation that they proposed would not do anything. What they are talking about, these Democrats right now, and I know that people in the UK may not understand the history of the Second Amendment or why it's a fundamental right in the United States. A big reason was because we left. It's an issue here where these people want to use the no-fly list for a litmus test. Well, let me tell you, there are hundreds of thousands of people on the no-fly list in the United States, including Senator Ted Kennedy, Fox News contributor Stephen Hayes. I've known half a dozen people, hundreds of thousands, and the administration themselves have said that maybe 1 in 100 have anything to do with terrorism. I do not believe that American citizens who've been accused of no crime, who have not received any due process, should have their basic fundamental human rights stripped away. Let me clarify for people listening. Gun violence is on the decrease. Nobody is out there purchasing automatic weapons. No automatic weapons were used in this shooting. And isn't it interesting that we pivoted from a guy who pledged allegiance to ISIS and went out and killed 49 gay people because they were gay in the name of Islam? We're talking about weapons that were never even used. What a pivot that is.
So are you trying to argue assault rifles are less dangerous than other weapons?
What's an assault rifle?
Well, you've described it semi-automatic. You can have a semi-automatic assault rifle, as was used in the Orlando shooting, that can spray bullets in a matter of seconds.
Well, no, I didn't say it. You used the term assault rifle. You used the term automatic.
No,
I corrected you.
I'm sorry, that's the term police used in Orlando when they described what the weapons that had been used. Assault rifle is the term they used, not my term.
No, I've seen that's the term the media has used, and I've seen the terms in the media like automatic, which is
describing
false.
The weapon they had recovered at the scene.
Can you say then that automatic is false, and that maybe you should retract that so your audience understands that no automatic weapons were used? Because then people think automatic weapons are assault weapons.
I'm having difficulty trying to understand your line of argument. Are you trying to say there's a thing that's a safe gun, for instance?
Of course, yeah. I have a gun on my hip right now. It's never shot anybody.
Why do you need a gun in the studio?
Well, let me explain to you why I actually have a fatwa on my head, because I've drawn Muhammad. So that's my reason, and I would never assume to actually copy-paste my reason or know the motive for any person who might need their basic fundamental human right to self-preservation. Why do you need security guards there in the studio?
I haven't got security guards here in the studio.
There's no security in that studio.
No. I've got a floor manager, but he's not very secure.
I don't believe you, just like I don't believe that you don't know the difference between automatic and semi-automatic. Let's go to the term assault rifle, to use your term.
No, I'm sorry.
Assault rifle doesn't mean anything.
It's the term the police used. If you want to be specific about these things, that's the term the police used describing the weapon recovered at the scene.
Right. So now we've pivoted from using the term automatic, which is patently false. You were wrong, and we use the term assault. Let me tell you what an assault rifle is. Here's a gun that's legal, an assault rifle. Okay, not perfectly legal. Change it to a pistol grip. That's now an assault rifle. These are arbitrary reasons. Semi-automatics. Okay, you can get handguns that are far more effective. By the way, are used much more in mass shootings. This is what's important to note. Semi-automatic handguns or rifles. They can be in either handgun or rifle. They're more often used in handguns with gun homicides. Are more available trouble than ever, and gun crime in the United States has taken a sharp downturn. Meanwhile, in the UK or Australia, Western Europe, or you can even look to Sweden, where guns are incredibly controlled, violent crime rate, not gun-related crime, but violent crime rate, particularly sexual assault, have absolutely skyrocketed because you have a defenseless populace who don't have the right to fundamental self-preservation. But why don't we talk about the guy who pledged allegiance to ISIS and killed gay people in the name of Islam? I mean, isn't that the root cause here? Shouldn't that be the main topic at hand? He killed in the name of Islam and said he was doing so in the name of ISIS. Isn't that more important than a rifle that he never used, the AR-15, which was misreported, also misreported as automatic? Why aren't we talking about Islam?
Well, we have been discussing that because on the very night Islamic State claimed that he was, as they say, one of their foot soldiers. But as you well know, President Obama, in his address to the nation, indicated this was the latest in a series of mass killings involving weapons. But you appear to be indicating that whether the weapon is automatic, semi-automatic, or whether it's just a handgun, that's perfectly acceptable.
No. I was simply saying you were wrong, and the fact that you're doubling down makes me think, makes me give you less of the benefit of the doubt. I assumed you were ignorant. Makes me think that you're lying now. If you want to fixate on that.
Can I just get your reaction? We're just getting some news from the Reuters.
You said automatic. That's how you started this segment.
Can you just listen to my question for a moment?
An automatic weapon was not used. They have not
been
used in
any of these shootings. Can you just listen to my question for a moment on an issue that actually directly affects this? Because the U.S. Senate has just voted to block a more restrictive plan, as they say, to stop gun sales to people on some terrorism watch list, what I think you said the no-fly list.
Right.
So you would
agree
with that?
I would agree with what?
The fact that it's correct to block any restrictive plans to stop gun sales to people that are on a terrorism watch list.
Again, you know, I'm trying to, and I appreciate letting me come on your program, and rights are different in different countries. So I'm trying to think of a fundamental human right that would exist in the UK. We know it's not freedom of speech or the Second Amendment. It's a fundamental human right in the United States to own a firearm. Now, again, you have hundreds of thousands of people on a no-fly list. You can be put on at any point for no reason, with no due process, having never committed a crime, with no appeal process. So, do I think that I want to hand over that government the power to do that? No, of course not. I think someone needs due process, particularly American citizens, if you're going to strip them of their rights. People can throw around terror watch lists. Again, this shooting in Orlando, let's be clear. He was not on a terror watch list. He didn't get a firearm through a gun show loophole. It wasn't an automatic. It wasn't even an AR-15. Everything that has been repeated in the media, including many things here in this interview, are verifiably false.
Thank you very much indeed for joining us from there in the studio. I hope you got your safety catch and your weapon. Thanks very much indeed.